וירא יעקב כי יש-שבר במצרים. Yaakov saw that there is food or grain in Egypt. And shever also could mean the person giving the food. As rabbis have said, shever could mean Sham ben Rachel. Over there is ben Rachel. Not that he saw that, but it could mean that also as far as our Yosef, Mashiach ben Yosef, could also have to do with that idea. Now Rashi says about this, Vayar Yaakov ki yesh-shever b'Mitzrayim, umehechan ra'a, where did he see? V'lo lo ra'a, but he didn't see. Ela shama, he heard, because the next pasuk says, Hine shamati ki yesh-shever b'Mitzrayim. I heard that there is grain in Egypt. There's nothing to see. You can only hear the news, meaning what people are saying. So what is there to see? Shenemar hine shamati. Umahu vayar, what does it mean that he saw? Ra'a be'aspaklaria shel kodesh. He saw with the holy lens, which means prophecy and Ruach HaKodesh, again shel kodesh, like a Ruach HaKodesh, somewhat prophecy, as we'll see. She'adayin yesh lo shever, that still there is for him, yesh lo to Yaakov, seber, which means hope, b'Mitzrayim, in Egypt. That's what he saw. Meaning he felt and he saw in his Ruach HaKodesh that there's some hope in Egypt, that something's going on, but he didn't know exactly. It wasn't a real prophecy. That's why we say it was a somewhat prophecy, or maybe just Ruach HaKodesh, because we know when Yaakov was sad all these years without Yosef, he didn't have prophecy. But yet he had something. And it says, Lehodio sheperush sheze Yosef. Again, to tell him, he didn't have a prophecy to tell him that really this is Yosef, who's the shever. Meaning, again, it could mean a person who's giving out the food. And this, of course, miketz, usually we read it on Chanukah as a rule. And if it's two Shabbatot, it's usually vayeshev and miketz. And it doesn't always, however, fall on miketz, even though it usually does, even if it's only one Shabbat. This year, which was Tafshin Pei Dalid, which was 2023, of course, before January, so we didn't get to 24 yet. Usually the Dalit and the 4 will be the same, but that's after January, just so you can remember the year, Hebrew and English. So this year did not. It ended on Friday, was day 8, and then Shabbat Miketz came. So it's not always a rule that Shabbat Miketz is Chanukah, but it means it's the week of. Like when you start Sunday, it means it's the week of Miketz at least. So that you always have. Now it says in this parasha of Miketz earlier, in where it says that Paro saw Yosef and he interpreted the dreams, and he said in 41:38, he says, he told his Vayomer Paro labadav, Paro told his servants, Hanimsach hazeh, is there anyone like this? Ish asher ruach Elokim bo, a person that has the spirit of Hashem in him. And of course, this was Yosef and his Ruach HaKodesh and maybe his prophecy, whatever he had, of course, interpreting the dreams. Now we see these words, Ruach Elokim, in the beginning of Beraishit. So this takes us back now to Chanukah and see how all this is related. It says, Veruach Elokim merachefet al pnei hamayim. The famous idea, there was darkness and the Spirit of Hashem hovered over the water. And then God said, let there be light, and there was light. So already we see, as the Balaturim says, that this words, Ruach Elohim merachefet, is begematria, the numerical value, Zo Rucho Shel Mashiach. This is the spirit of Mashiach. And some say specifically the Mashiach ben Yosef, That's why Yosef now with Paro, it's saying he had the Ruach Elokim because he's the Yosef and he's going to reveal things. And also when Mashiach ben Yosef comes, he's also going to reveal. What's he going to reveal? The or, the light. That's why it says, then Vayomer Elokim Yihi Or. God said, let there be light. That's what the Mashiach's going to reveal. Meaning the knowledge or the information. That's what he's going to do. Now, also you say, Ruach Elokim Bo. Bo is numerical value 8. 6 and 2 is 8. So it already refers to the 8 Chanukah lights, because that's where the Ruach Elokim knowledge is in. Now, if you want to play more on this Bo, you have in Vayetze, Parashat Vayetze, where it says the ladder, Yaakov saw angels going up and down the ladder. It says, V'nei malache Elokim, olim v'yoredim bo. Behold, there was the angels of Hashem going up and down on it, on the ladder. And the rabbis say this has to do with Chanukah also, because Bo is 8, and you have olim v'yoredim. Malache Elokim, almost like holy people, like Shammai and Hillel. They disagreed whether you go up or down to light. If you go 8, 7, 6, 5, or you go 1, 2, 3, 4 to 8, which is the famous machloket. So it's alluded to here. Also, you could say, if you take the letters, V'hineh malache Elokim, the second letter of each one, V'hineh is Hey, Malache is Lamed, Elokim is Lamed. That's Hillel. And right before it says, V'rosho magia hashamayma. And then V'hineh malache Elokim. Hashamayma is Shammai. So it even says Shammai and Hillel, and talking about Chanukah and the 8 lights. So it means Yosef had this knowledge, and the Mashiach ben Yosef is going to have this knowledge. Now, back to Yaakov, where it says Yaakov saw, and he had a slight prophecy or a Ruach HaKodesh. So now we want to link up the Vayar part. Vayar means to see in Ruach HaKodesh. But the lights of Chanukah is also to see. Because we say, Ein lanu reshut l'shtamesh behem, we can't use them, ela lir'otam bilvad, only to look at them, like we've discussed. And Hashem looked at it. Vayomer Elokim, Vayar Elokim et ha'or kitov, God looked at the light. Now, why would he look at the light? Because he wants to teach us to look at the light. Because when you look at the light, you're going to gain Ruach HaKodesh. That's the idea. Especially on the 8th day, because that's the 8 days. Bo is the 8 days. Of course, it means all days of Chanukah, but especially on the last day. And rabbis say, if you intensely look at the lights and you study next to it, of course, look at it and look at your book to study. Look at the light also. Don't just study in the book. Study and then look at it and think. Study and look at it and think. However you want to play that. And it should bring you a Ruach HaKodesh. See, look how interesting. That's what those lights will do, because it says Vayar, and there's Vayar, and then the Ruach Elokim, and Ruach Elokim, all in this parasha. That's why Miketz has to do with Chanukah, because it's playing on all those words of Bereshit. Now, when we said, Ein echol elecha yisaberu, ve'ata noten lem tochlam be'ito, we can also say, because when it said God saw that there was seber, which is hope, it means the same thing. Ein echol, like vayar, to see. So the eyes of everyone, elecha yisaberu, we hope to you, Hashem, ve'ata noten lem tochlam be'ito, and you give us the food. You give them the food in their right time. It's almost like a playoff on this pasuk, because Yaakov saw with his eyes, or his spiritual eyes, so to speak, that there's a sever, and it was about giving food out. Even though it was a spiritual food, he's also looking for, but it was this physical food also. That's what the shever was. So that's v'ata noten lahem tochlam beito. So that whole pasuk has to do with this. So maybe if we want to compare the two pasukim, we could say that when we say Ein echol, the eyes of everyone, and Hashem, we hope to you, maybe we should think to ourselves, we also want spiritual food. Spiritual food, and which will include prophecy and Ruach HaKodesh. That's what we're waiting and hoping for. And when we say, Potech et yadecha, he gives us our food, we think physical food and spiritual food. So that's how you can make these two Pisukim work together. It'll teach us that we should be thinking of our physical needs from Hashem and also asking Him for our spiritual needs.